Welcome to Asapa Telecoms, Apex Telecoms. So today we are beginning our first module of lessons, and the module is entitled GSM System Solving. GSM System Solving. So join me as we go through this short training program. So for GSM System Solving, we will be looking at the evolution of GSM network. Then the second one is we look at the architecture of the GSM network. And then the third one is we'll be looking at the interfaces we can talk about in the GSM network. And then we'll be looking at GSM voice calls, scenarios. And then the last one is we're looking at GSM roaming calls, scenarios. So basically these are the things that we'll be looking at the module 1, which is for GSM system solving. So we're looking at the evolution of GSM, we're looking at the architecture, what entails the GSM infrastructure, and then we're looking at the interfaces under the GSM network, and then we'll have a look at some few of the GSM voice call scenarios that you can get, and then we'll be looking at the various roaming services scenarios that you can talk about under GSM. So we'll be looking at first the evolution. So with the evolution, what we want to learn here is how GSM came about. So before GSM, what were we using? Now, before GSM, we had the fixed network. Okay, so fixed network and how it worked. Okay, so under the evolution, we'll want to look at the fixed network and how it works, and then we'll be looking at the various bodies or organizations that brought this GSM infrastructure, and then we'll be looking at 1G to 5G technologies. Okay, so then the next thing is we'll look at the need for GSM and why it overtook fixed line network. So that is what we should be able to understand or know under the evolution of the GSM or the GSM infrastructure. Now, before GSM came into the picture, we're using fixed lines. Fixed lines were the old traditional phones that we used in our various houses or homes, whereby we dial the various digits or numbers we see. We put this one down, okay, and then I've got a small cord or wire to the wall, something. So we had this fixed line network, or this fixed telephone networks with numbers all over written on them. So if you want to dial somebody, you just hit those numbers here, then you pick the handler, and then you get your dialing tone or whatever it is called, ringing tone, and then you call the person. So this was what we were using before GSM came. Now, this was how it looks like. So the fixed line network, basically you have your phone sitting somewhere here, and then you had something like this. So you have your phone here. These are overhead cables. The overhead cables. And then from the overhead cables, it goes straight to your cabinet. Okay? So from the cabinet, then it goes through what is called MDF, main distribution frame. And from the MDF, it goes to the exchange. So this is a simple architecture of a fixed line network. So we have the fixed line phone here sitting at home. Then from the home, it connects to the overhead cable. Okay, the overhead. And then from the overhead, you have the cables running all over the overhead cable. Sometimes the cables can run underground, but mostly in Africa, they use the overhead cables. Whilst in Western world, they use the underground cable. So the cables pass on those poles which are mounted outside. Then from there, all the cables are terminated in the cabinet. The cabinets are like a box sitting outside in the environment. So when you see a cabinet, most of the surrounding or neighbors, all their cables terminate on this cabinet. Then for the cabinet, those cables run onto what is called the MDF. So the MDF is the main distribution frame. So the MDF distributes the cables to the various exchanges. So if you are in exchange A here, okay, and your house is at maybe a place called A, so all the various houses here, they pass through the wire cables, terminate on the cabinet, then they go to the MDF, then they terminate on the exchange here, the telephone exchange. So the telephone exchange is just like a switch center. So that is where most of the activity is done. That is where we put a dialing tone onto your number. So after the cables are being laid, you will now do what is called a programming here at the exchange level, and then you have your ringing tone being programmed onto your phone, so that you have your phone working. So this is how we had our communication in the past using this fixed line network before the GSM came into the picture. Now, under the GSM, we're able to have the DSL, digital subscriber line. So the DSL was able to give us high-speed internet using the same cable network. So the DSL, we're able to have internet as well. Okay, so we also have what's called the ADSL. Now the ADSL modem, we can distribute this high-speed internet to various users through the same modem. So this traditional way of communication had voice calls and then also what? Data calls. All working. But with the use of DSL and then what? The cables here and then the telephone exchange, We have this working for both voice and then data. So we'll be moving on to the next module, which is the architecture of the GSM network. But before then, I hope you enjoyed this lesson very much. So thank you for watching. Subscribe onto our channel, Apex Telecoms, whilst we give you the best of the best in the telecom industry. Thank you very much. Enjoy your day.